Great to be here on Facebook. I'm Stephanie Hessler. I'm a high performance coach and the host of the Success Mindset Live. And today's topic is about positive intelligence. If you're a successful, high achieving individual and you want to rapidly advance your career, but maybe you're sabotaging yourself, then keep listening, because today's conversation about positive intelligence is for you. And please do watch through to the end. And my guest today is a colleague in the mindset and high performance world, also a special friend. She, like me, has a corporate background and is also a Wharton alum. She's an accomplished holistic health coach and business coach. And I want to welcome today, Michelina DiSibio. Welcome, Mick.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephanie. It's such an honor to be with you. I admire you so much and all the great work that you do. So it's really, I'm very humbled to be invited to participate in your group today. Thank you.
Thank you. And you are a little bit of a repeat guest. You've been here at least once, if not more than once, but I know, so this is a second or possibly third time for you. But for people who maybe don't know you yet, tell us a little bit about your background and what you're doing now.
Oh, thank you. So like you mentioned, I'm a Wharton alum like you, former corporate America as well. I worked at IBM Global Financing for almost 20 years, and then went on to work for a business partner of mine at the time. And then sort of two things happened for me at the same time. Stephanie, I was encountering some health challenges of my own. I've been diagnosed with something called osteopenia. And I was really became very, very curious about what was happening in my body and what was causing this, diagnosis. But I was also at a point in my career where I really didn't feel fulfilled anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was sort of stuck, and I didn't know what the future would hold, but I knew that this diagnosis for me kind of inspired me to really take a closer look at my health. And I should also mention, and I don't talk about this a lot because it's sort of painful, but we lost my dad when I was 5 years old and he was 37, and it was to a heart condition that wasn't very well understood at the time. And so I really got curious. And so this lack of career fulfillment and the diagnosis sort of happening at the same time really got me thinking about, life is short. I need to do something about this. And so I became a certified holistic health practitioner. I was part of the IIN program. I joined the Juice Plus company, which I am delighted and honored and really very just blessed to be a partner of the company. And so now I focus on helping busy professionals like us and other health enthusiasts to bridge the gaps in their diets with the fruit and vegetable concentrates that our company provides. And so now, in addition to what I'm doing in terms of just the health, sort of more of the physical health, I'm now wanting to add to that by talking to more and more people about the positive intelligence program, because that is now bringing the body and the mind piece together. We're going to be talking about mental fitness as well.
Yeah. And I mean, bless you, Mick, that you've taken these challenges and tragedy, also losing a parent at such a young age, and really now in service of others, right? And from the information that you have learned. So how wonderful that you are doing this work. And you've been talking to me about positive intelligence, which is, I've become so curious about it myself. So what is it exactly? What is positive intelligence?
Yeah, it's really fun. It's really fascinating stuff. It's a program that was designed by Shirzad Chamine. He's the CEO, and he is a Stanford lecturer. And the purpose is really to help you grow your mental muscle so you can enjoy better happiness and peak performance in your life. And so the foundation here is that all of us have self-sabotaging thoughts that can get in the way of our success, right? Sometimes we second guess ourselves, or we think we're not qualified enough to do something or good enough to do something. But in the program, we learn how to overcome those thoughts. And so in the context of the Bliss Accelerator, which is your amazing program, which, by the way, if anyone listening or watching hasn't already participated in that, I highly recommend it because it's life-changing. But in the context of that program, I'm thinking about the paradigms,
Right.
right? These are those habitual sort of negative thoughts that drag us down. And so that, to me, those are the self-sabotaging thoughts. And we're going to learn through the program how to shut those down and activate what we call the sage part of our brain,
Okay.
which
So
unlocks your potential. Yeah.
got it, got it. So would you just walk us through, just in case, I'm curious, I'm sure there are people in the audience who are curious, how does that work?
Yeah, it's really fun. So the Positive Intelligence Program is a 7-week program.
Mhm,
It's driven through an app, which makes it really convenient.
mhm.
And this is where we work on the actual mental fitness exercises. So just like you would go to a gym to exercise and build your physical muscles, we're going into the fitness gym on the app, and we're strengthening the part of our brain, as I mentioned a minute ago, called the sage part, and
Mhm.
quieting the parts of our brain that sabotage us. So the
Okay.
brain, basically, just to simplify, we have the survival region, which is where those saboteurs like to be and live, and then we have the thrive region of our brain, and
Yeah.
that's where our sages, where we become, it's a part of our what we describe as the middle prefrontal cortex,
Yeah.
and it's where the empathy circuitry is,
Mhm.
our curiosity, compassion, all of
Mhm.
these things, joy of creativity, etc., live there, and that's what we want to tap into
Wow.
even more.
Right, right, right. Well, I mean, I know everybody can relate to this. And can you give an example of how that saboteur might, that sabotaging part of the mind might sort of hijack you? What happens there?
Oh my goodness, yes. So I didn't realize how often it actually happens until you start to build your awareness. But so just to take a step back, so through Shirzad's research, we
Mhm.
know that there are 10 main saboteurs. So,
10.
for example, the judge is the most prevalent one. We all judge. Everybody has the judge self-saboteur. We
Right.
judge ourselves, we judge other people, we judge our circumstances.
Hmm.
So, for example, and that's just one. So, I'll just quickly list the others. There's the hyperachiever, self
Hmm.
saboteur. And you can think of these as like that little itty bitty committee that kind of sits on your shoulder and talks to
Oh,
you
very familiar
negatively,
with that. Yep.
right? Okay. Okay, great. So, and I won't go into the definition of each of
Yep.
these because it would take a lot of time, but just to give you the high level, there's the high achiever,
Yep.
there's the controller, the avoider, the hypervigilant,
Hmm.
the pleaser, the restless, the victim, the stickler, and the hyper rational. These are all self saboteurs. So, to answer your question as an example, so for me right now, right, the judge is very strong. I'm thinking about how I need a haircut and how even before this call started, I was a little, I'm a little nervous. Will
Yep.
I stumble over my words? Will I remember to say everything that I want to share? These are all judgments
Yeah.
that I have about myself.
Yes.
And so, step number one is to acknowledge it. So,
Yeah.
as soon as I recognized that the judge was acting up, I will say to myself, there goes the judge.
Yeah.
There
Oh.
she goes again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So step one is acknowledging it. And then I have practiced enough now where I have done, I do some of the mental fitness exercises that I learned in the gym, the mental fitness gym. And so what it has helped me to do is just to become calmer, to tap into again, that sage part of the brain where
Mhm.
there are what we call 5 sage powers.
Okay.
One of them is empathy.
Okay.
So we learn how to empathize with ourselves, with other people, and to see each other in a different way. There's an exercise that we practice to do that.
Mhm.
And so, okay, so maybe I do need a haircut, which by the way is scheduled for later this week. Or, maybe I will mess up on forgetting to say something or stumbling or something. But the empathy has taught me that nobody's perfect.
Right.
Nobody's perfect. And
So
it's
is the
okay.
empathy like a self-compassion?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And in the gym, in this mental fitness gym, we practice for a whole week. We just focus on empathy,
Mm,
looking at yourself. And so I didn't mention earlier, but part of the daily practice is that for 15 minutes a day, and it's broken up throughout the day, you get to decide the schedule. But for about 15 minutes a day, we're practicing how to, again, quiet the saboteur and give more attention to that sage part of the brain.
right. Wow. And so what are some tools then? I mean, you're already sharing some of these tools, but maybe, if you could give us something super concrete, say even from your own experience, so someone can understand how specific are you with using these tools? How exactly, what are these tools?
Yeah, so there's a couple of so the main tool is really the app, right? So you'll go into the app and
Okay.
it will prompt you to do the exercises, and they're really, obviously, the more you do them, if you practice daily, you're going to get better and better at it. It's just like going again to the regular gym, right? If you go once a week, sure, you'll see some results, but if you're going several times a week, you're going to see better results, right? So,
Mhm.
just to give you an example, there are different kinds of mental exercises you can do in
Mhm.
the app. I'll give you one that is very common and that we do practically in every session. And
Mhm.
it's, for example, just rubbing your two fingertips together. These are mindfulness exercises
Oh,
to
yeah.
get you to be more mindful and to sort of calm your brain down from whatever um, the negative thought is that's triggering you, right? It could be that you're a little nervous before a meeting, maybe, right? So you'll go into the gym and you'll do a couple of these. And what it's doing is it's getting you to be mindful. You're going to be prompted to really focus on feeling all of the ridges on your fingertips, or perhaps rubbing your hands together like this.
Right.
And
Yeah.
now, again,
You feel the heat.
you're feeling the heat, you're quieting the brain down, you're sort of getting yourself set to go into that sage part of your brain where you're really looking for what is the gift or opportunity from this particular situation.
Right.
So, so let's say, going back to my example of, well, if I stumble or something, what's the gift or the opportunity there? Well, I can certainly tap into the first power, or the first in the list power, which is the empathy,
Mm.
and say, hey, it's okay. This is how we learn. And maybe do a little bit of exploration and say, let me get curious about this. So what was it that caused me to stumble? Why was that? And kind of dig a little deeper into that. And so what happens is the more you sort of bring these things to light and you shine the light on
Right.
them, the less they are sneaky, to come back
Sure.
in and try to disrupt your flow.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Well, that is such a great explanation of the tools and how it works. And I love that. I mean, the tool is partly technology, right? It's an app,
it is.
which is
Yes. But
amazing.
what happens,
Yeah.
it is. But what happens is, so for example, there will be days perhaps where you might be really very, very busy, right? Where you're not maybe always going into the app. But what happens is, because the app is kind of a way for you to track your progress,
Right.
when you get into the new habit
Mm-hmm.
of doing this 3 times a day, perhaps you're breaking it down into little chunks, you're going to begin to do this automatically, again, because it becomes a habit. You may not necessarily need to go into the app to be prompted or to be tracking your progress. Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
absolutely makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So it
And
definitely helps you get started. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. And then how do you know if it's working?
Oh, yeah. So you're going to know.
Okay.
Trust me, you'll know. Yeah. You're going to feel calmer, more prepared, more confident, less frazzled.
Right. Right. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, you'll know for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is, I mean, what a blessing, right? Don't we all want that greater peace of mind? Yeah. So
absolutely.
for somebody here who's listening and is sort of intrigued, how do they get started?
Well, you can certainly reach out. You're welcome to reach out to me if you want to dig in a little bit further to understand more of the details. I'm happy to share what I've learned because I think it's really life-changing. But
Yeah.
I do also highly recommend going to the positiveintelligence.com site where
Hmm.
you can take the self-sabotage quiz.
Okay.
And you can see they will tell you based on your responses what your top saboteurs are.
Okay.
And it's really very, very interesting and eye-opening. You're going to learn a lot about
Uh,
yourself. And also, I think, become more compassionate for others. Because let's face it, in life, in business, we're all going to run into working with people that we perceive
mhm.
to be difficult or difficult circumstances. And so it's really helpful to be able to reframe all of that and to use your thrive, the thrive side of your brain, the sage
Yeah.
side, to help you move past that,
Yeah.
and that's really, I think, the ticket to better happiness and better health and success and whatever your goals are.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
And just a question about these saboteurs, and there are 10 of them, I think you said,
correct.
right? So when you do the quiz, do you get like your top three, or does everybody have some combination of all top 10? How does that work?
Cor- Correct. Yes. Generally speaking, some combination of all 10. And there are, in the beginning, you probably will work on, say, the first, the top three, perhaps,
Right.
right? Because those are the ones that are interfering the most. But you will get an idea for the ranking. There's like a little point system, so you'll see what
Yeah.
your top ones are. But the judge is generally the first one that we begin with because, as I said, everyone is judging.
Oh,
We're doing
right.
it all day long.
Right.
Hmm.
Well, and I think that we're also such a judging culture, you know,
Yes,
judgment is, so I'm just curious, what have you personally experienced? Well, you said more the greater peace of mind, the calm,
right,
what's it
right.
been like for you to sort of tame that judger?
Well, in the beginning it's quite hard because the emotion is very strong. And I do want to clarify one thing. I should have said this earlier, is that, you know, judging is also part of human nature. So we shouldn't, I don't believe we should feel bad about it. I mean, it's important, for example, that we judge
Mm.
when there's a car coming and we need to get
Yes,
out of the way, right?
yes,
I mean, there's
yes,
there's value to judging, right? We need to be able to do that, but there's a difference between judging and discerning,
yes,
right? So it just is a matter of, you're going to know when it's not a good judging, when you're based on your feelings,
right.
right? Your feelings are your barometer. If you're
Mhm.
not feeling good, then you probably are in a judgy sort of state, and it's not so much discerning whether something is good for you or not good for you.
Yes,
um, so hopefully that makes sense. But yes, it's been just, for me, even more clarity of
right,
mind, of thinking,
right.
because when you're in a calmer state, you're more able to make clearer, better, decisions for yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
just curious, are you able to observe people differently? Do you recognize the saboteurs in other people?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it really has. Um, and if I can say this, I mean, I always felt like I, do my best to be a compassionate, person. But what this has done for me, and I'm thinking of someone in particular, is that so now I see them in a different way. So one of the things we practice when we're doing the empathy, for example, is to see the person that we're judging as a child,
Hmm.
right? And so we begin to think about, wow, so maybe the reason this person is the way they are is, generally speaking, because of some paradigms, as you teach, right? Paradigms that they've had. And many of these, we know, begin in childhood.
Yes.
So it's gotten me to think more about, well, what have people gone through? Generally speaking, if people are sort of abrasive, or, there's something about their personality that isn't comfortable for you or something. There's something deeper going on there. It has something to do with a paradigm that
Yes.
they need help working through. And so it helps you to become a little bit more understanding and not as upset about it.
Right. Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
as upset. Yeah.
And do you know, Mick,
Yeah.
if this is used in corporate environments too, or is it really an individual thing?
No, it is used in corporate. In fact, I know Shirzad has worked with, corporations and CEOs. I mean, you can read all about him on the Positive Intelligence site.
Yeah.
And his personal story is really, really inspiring. I mean, it's incredible what he's been able to do with his own life. And so it is really, I feel so blessed that I found out about this, by the way,
Yeah.
through through a lovely lady that I met at one of our Juice Plus conferences,
Yeah.
who is a pharmacist, and she told me about this. And I immediately was fascinated and thought, everyone needs to know about this, because if there's one last thought, Stephanie, I can
Please.
leave with you. It's that I just want to remind everybody, and I know you've heard this before, success is truly an inside job.
Yes. Yes.
It all starts in your head.
Yes.
It all starts with how you're thinking.
Yeah.
And I just feel it is so important, especially given today's climate.
Yes.
I think we can all agree we're living in some pretty chaotic times right now.
Yeah.
We need to really hone in and build our mental fitness muscles.
Yes.
And I think if we learn to do that, we can get to places that we never imagined we could reach.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my gosh. I love how you brought in the bigger world, because yeah, if each one of us can contribute in our small way to making the world a better place, less judgmental, right? Kinder,
yes,
calmer. Yes, absolutely. So
yes.
I know you mentioned you had that, if you had anything else to share, was that your final thought, or is there anything else that about positive intelligence that you still want to share?
I think that's it. I really just encourage everyone to take a look, give it some consideration, um, and determine discern
Yes.
if it's something that you feel you want to do and can benefit from. I think
Yeah.
I wish this were the kind of thing that we're taught in more and more schools. I think children need these skills, and
That's right.
perhaps one day we can help, move society in that direction.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, you have done such an A+ job of explaining it so clearly. Like I said, I know you've been talking about it for a while, and I've been really curious. So this has helped me so much. I've been taking notes. I'm really curious to
Oh,
out what my primary saboteurs are, and understand more about this process. I love also the idea, the analogy, the metaphor of the gym and the mental
mhm.
fitness. What a great metaphor that is, to
Yeah, I mean,
apply
can you
for our body.
imagine if more of us spent as much time in a mental fitness gym as we do, thinking about our physical bodies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, you are so right. Yes. Bringing order to the mind. Yes.
Yes.
Being mentally
Yes.
fit. Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sure there are people who are going to want to contact you. What's the best way for someone to find you?
Oh, thank you for asking. So you can find me on LinkedIn. And I'm also happy to drop an email here, or, if anyone
Please
wants
do.
to email me
Yes.
directly, we can do that as well. But LinkedIn on social media is the primary place for me to
Great.
connect with you.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. And thank you, Mick. Thank you
Oh,
for
thank
taking
you.
time for your schedule to share with us your experience, your learning about positive intelligence. I mean, I've learned so much. I know others have too. And for those of you who are listening, if this is of interest to you, please do contact Michelina, follow up with her, be in touch with her. And as we close up for today, remember that you are exceptional. And absolutely, the mental fitness and positive intelligence is going to help you with drawing the exceptional out of you. I'm Stephanie Hessler, and bye for now.